humanitarian crises in the world.
I think the defense industry, represented by companies like Lockheed Martin and Raytheon, are making a lot of money on this war, and I think that's what the war is about as much as anything. And so the war persists. We're 7 years into this war, one of the most devastating wars, honestly, in human history. This is the worst humanitarian crisis in the world, and the U.S. continues to fuel it. It's terrible. This is a U.S. war. This is a U.S.-UK war. Saudi Arabia is the proxy here. I mean, the U.S. now fights most of its wars by proxy, as it's fighting Russia now through Ukraine. And so, yeah, I mean, the U.S. has been critical in this war, has provided most of the armaments, including cluster bombs, has helped with logistical support, including targeting and refueling Saudi planes in air, has supported the Saudi blockade of Yemen, which has starved countless numbers of people. But as many of these wars, it's an undeclared war. I mean, most Americans don't even know it's happening. If they do, they don't know that the U.S. is behind it.
Over to the Wadden Islands now, which have condemned a gas drilling project in the North Sea. They say it will be harmful for the environment, and it comes after Germany and the Netherlands decided to join forces to develop a new gas field which is aimed at cutting dependence on Russian energy. The German Federal Ministry, however, downplayed the impact of future drilling.
In other words, the gas quantities that could be extracted from this field are small in the context of the total gas consumption in Germany, so this contributes little to the gas consumption and the associated emissions, so that this is not a fundamental decision.
The North Sea project was previously abandoned by Amsterdam and Berlin, mainly because of the European Union's ecological policy. However, the decision has been changed over sanctions on Russian energy. RT contributor Rachel Marsden explains the change of agenda.
Some countries in the European Union are having to choose between pleasing environmentalists or pleasing Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. And three guesses who wins that contest. Germany and the Netherlands have just announced a new joint project to replace Russian gas imports, and environmentalists can't possibly be too happy about it. The two countries have taken the first steps to authorize drilling for gas in the North Sea after Russian energy giant Gazprom said that it was turning off the gas tap on its exports to the Netherlands. Dutch gas buying and trading firm Gasterra had been refusing Moscow's demands to pay for Russian gas in rubles in order to secure continued deliveries amid the European Union's financial sanctions against Russia over the Ukraine conflict. Germany has invested heavily in its green energy strategy, and new gas drilling projects like this one risk undermining its carbon-free utopian fantasy. The EU is obsessed with what they keep calling Russian President Vladimir Putin's gas, but replacing it is going to come at a cost to their climate change obsession. U.S. President Joe Biden has also announced that America would be reducing its oil and gas imports from Russia, and yes, they did exist prior to all of this, leaving Washington in a position of having to develop domestic supplies, which American environmentalists staunchly oppose. And earlier this year, the British government's Climate Change Committee chair expressed concern over the signaling impact of new North Sea exploration. Lord Devon suggested that it would show a lack of seriousness about their plans to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. So I guess it's nice to see that the EU and its member states have such strong values, which can be replaced from one day to the next by other values which I guess are equally strong.
In other news, 3 Russian violinists who were excluded from a music competition in Italy, well, they plan to sue the organisers of the contest. And that's despite the rejection letter claiming there was no prejudice in the decision. Well, one of the violinists, Lydia Kocharian, says that the organisers violated their own charter since it states people of all nationalities can participate in the contest.
It wasn't my first time when I was being rejected because of the nationality these couple of months. But in the rules actually was written that every participant can participate of any nationality. Everyone now know about this story because I made a publication on Facebook. And actually yesterday we received a letter. It was saying we will be readmitted if we go and condemn conflict. I'm a musician, so I'm out of politics, and I find it strange that they asked me to do it, because when I applied, I just applied as a musician, so I have nothing to do with it.
Well, it's certainly not the first case of anti-Russian sentiment in the cultural sphere. Earlier, 9 Russian musicians were excluded from the Dublin International Piano Competition. The Honens International Piano Competition over in Canada has also withdrawn its invitations for 6 Russian pianists. Lydia Kocheryan, again, she told us the competition organiser does plan to change the rules in light of the conflict in Ukraine.
It was written that next year they will be happy to see us as participants again when the conflict will be over. I know that the president of the competition, he decided to change the rules, saying that people from the conflicting countries, they won't be able to participate in the competition. In my opinion, this is ridiculous what they did, just because of the Russian nationality, just because of the place of birth.
And now for some news in brief from other parts of the world. At least 49 people were killed and hundreds more injured in a massive fire in the city of Chittagong in southeastern Bangladesh. The fire broke out in a container depot, with local authorities saying it may have been caused by flammable chemicals in some of those containers. At least 9 firefighters died while fighting that blaze, with 2 still thought to be missing. Wildfires are now raging near the Greek capital, prompting the evacuation of residential areas as strong winds fan the blaze near Athens. Local media have reported several buildings and vehicles damaged, and authorities say that nearly 300 firefighters are currently working in the area to control the spread of those raging wildfires. And while the plumes of smoke are still visible from up to 20 kilometres away, and obviously that is causing some concern among local people there. And this footage you can currently see on your screens shows Saturday's hot lava flows from Mount Etna in Italy, which is, of course, the tallest volcano in Europe. Its activity has resumed in recent weeks, and that's provided a stunning display of lava, which is transforming the land there. Now, while frequently active, Etna rarely causes much damage on its uninhabited slopes. And finally, over to the United Kingdom now, where plans are being drawn up within the government to introduce a 5-year expiration date for nearly 1,500 European Union laws that are currently still in use there. That's as the country looks to distance itself from the bloc, and recently leaked emails reveal an alleged plot back in 2018 by high-ranking Brexiteers, including a former MI6 chief, to leave the EU without a deal from Brussels.
Block any deal arising from the disastrous and craven Chequers white paper. Ensure that we leave on clean WTO terms. If necessary, remove this Prime Minister and replace with one fit for purpose. Cleanse the polluted civil service from top to bottom.
Well, those alleged plans included an influence campaign to, quote, defeat prominent groups who supported remaining in the European Union. It's also advocated for the creation of a committee coordinating anti-Brexit groups and allegedly establishing an intelligence operation to infiltrate government offices to undermine then Prime Minister Theresa May, as well as supporters of a soft Brexit. Investigative journalist Rick Sterling believes the aim was to cut the United Kingdom off from the European Union.
I think this is a blockbuster story. It reveals incredible corruption and influence by insiders and by the intelligence. I mean, in addition to a financier, key people involved are the former director of the MI6 and a prominent NATO advisor, NATO as well as British Defense Department advisor. They're the key people in this. They've got a mole working within the civil service who is passing on all of the documents that were being done. This group was very much opposed to any kind of accommodation with the European Union, and they wanted a very hard Brexit. And it looks like behind the scenes, they basically want to ally Britain with the US and limit or basically cut off ties or ties with Europe.